many are still grieving. Some families will be lost to one another forever. To those of you who face the difficulties of reconnecting with family and establishing ongoing relationships, we say sorry. We offer this apology in the hope that it will assist your healing and in order to shine a light on a dark period of our nation's history. To those who have fought for the truth to be heard, we hear you now.
You're listening to Adopt Perspective Podcast, a podcast for anyone affected by adoption. I'm your host and president of Jigsaw Queensland, Jo Sparrow. This podcast is a production of Jigsaw Queensland Post-Adoption Support Service. However, the views expressed are those of the people participating and not necessarily Jigsaw Queensland. The podcast discusses adult themes and listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Adopt Perspective. I'm your host and president of Jigsaw Queensland, Jo Sparrow. At Jigsaw Queensland, we're excited to be offering another exciting project made possible through our Forced Adoption Support Service small grant funding. We've once again partnered with Access Clinic to offer a powerful new 10-week online group therapy program designed specifically for adopted people impacted by Australia's forced adoption era. It's called How Attachment Styles Affect Adopted People, and it offers a safe, trauma-informed space to explore the lasting impacts of adoption on identity, relationships, and how we connect with others. To tell us about it and how you can get involved, I'm joined by two wonderful guests, Helen Angela Taylor, CEO of Jigsaw Queensland, and Anna Lanyon, a mental health social worker from Access Clinic. Helen and Anna, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us, Jo. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Jo. Great to be here.
Helen, let's start with you. Why did Jigsaw choose to support this project through the Small Grants program?
Well, as you know, Jo, small grant funding was created to build capacity within the adoption community and create opportunities for group healing. This particular program has been specifically designed by clinicians at Access Clinic for adopted people because our attachment style has a significant impact on our ability to relate to people, whether that's our adoptive family, our friends, colleagues, and even our partners. So we're really hopeful that this tailored program will help adopted people understand their own attachment style and learn practical ways to manage relationships.
And what do you think makes this program particularly relevant for adopted people impacted by the forced adoption era?
Well, Jo, everybody knows that human attachment plays an essential role in our survival as babies, but the trauma of separation from our mothers at birth makes it really hard for adopted people to cultivate security in relationships. And for me, it's one area where the lifelong impact of forced adoption is clearly demonstrated. An adopted person being raised in a family of strangers doesn't experience those foundational processes of bonding, connecting, and mirroring, like seeing ourselves in our carers. And we don't have that feeling of innate belonging or shared identity. Then we grow up and still have the need to nurture relationships, but don't have a safe foundation upon which to do so. So without that kind of basis of trust and security that most non-adopted people experience really early in their lives, us adopted people can really struggle with insecure attachment behaviours that make it extremely difficult to build and maintain healthy relationships throughout our life. And this impacts then on our quality of life, our mental health, and our sense of community connection. So we're really hoping that this program will enable adopted people to unpack their experiences with relationships and explore them in a safe, supportive, therapeutic environment.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Anna, can you give us an overview of what the group will explore each week?
Yeah, sure. So the program will have more of a focus on attachment, identity, and relational well-being because folks impacted by forced adoption are consistently telling us that these are the major issues for them. When we think about attachment theory, it makes a lot of sense. The theory's central premise is that early experiences within relationships are carried forward across the lifespan. So in other words, what happens to you as an infant creates a blueprint for how you'll relate to others as an adult. The unethical practice of forced adoption interrupted these early relational experiences for many people, making it really hard to build healthy, secure relationships with others later in life. But we do want to reassure everyone that it's not a done deal. No one is stuck, and the brain has an incredible capacity for healing. And we really do believe that at Access. So the program draws on attachment theory, compassion-focused therapy, neuroplasticity, acceptance and commitment therapy, dialectical behaviour therapy, and trauma-informed care. So it's a real mouthful of therapeutic models. The group will explore an introduction to attachment theory and how early bonding experiences shape internal working models. We'll explore anxious, avoidant, disorganized, and secure attachment styles and how they show up for everyone in everyday life. How attachment injuries shape intimacy, trust, boundaries, and self-worth. We'll explore brain development and the nervous system, challenging negative core beliefs, and practicing skills to manage shame, anxiety, and rejection sensitivity. We'll look at how safe interpersonal experiences help rewire the brain and create internal evidence for secure attachment. We'll provide practical tools to build and protect emotional safety in relationships. And we'll also learn to stay present in connection and tolerate closeness without fear or self-abandonment. So there's a lot to get through in those 10 weeks.
That is a lot, and I am so glad it was you who had to get through all of that terminology. As the listeners will know, my tongue does not always play well with lots of big words.
Is that true? Yeah. Yeah, definitely. If I need to explain anything, please give me feedback.
No, you know, and I'm sure, just like I would, everyone will be off Dr. Googling all of this stuff. What it is. So what kinds of tools will participants walk away with?
Yeah. So participants will walk away with practical skills for understanding triggers, improved reflexivity and sense of self, and an introduction to grounding exercises to draw them away from that threat drive mode that a lot of people get stuck in. There will be lots of opportunity for self-assessment and an introduction to compassion scripts, journaling, mental rehearsal, visualization, and sensory closure. Participants will also learn about their unique somatic and nervous system responses to adversity and trauma, and also hopefully develop some new self-soothing practices. But above all, and perhaps the most powerful benefit of all, there'll be a really genuine opportunity to build fulfilling and safe connections with like-minded people, which immediately breaks down the isolation, shame, and stigma faced by so many people who've experienced forced adoption. I've seen some really beautiful things occur after our groups, things like evening art groups online and things like that. So there's sort of some really genuine connections that are built out of these types of groups. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
It is, and community is such an important part of the healing from adoption, you know, with like-minded people, but people with a similar experience. Yeah, it's very
exactly. Yep, definitely. Yeah, it's the most probably the most therapeutic treatment you can give, to be honest.
Yeah. Helen, who is eligible to participate in the group?
Okay, so people eligible for this particular program are adoptees affected by the forced adoption era who either live in Queensland or were adopted in Queensland. We particularly want to encourage people who reside outside Southeast Queensland to participate in this program, which is why we opted for online delivery.
That's just makes my heart sing. I love that you're doing that. And Helen just mentioned that the group is running online to make it accessible as possible. Can you tell us when and how the group will run?
Yeah, definitely. So the group will run on Thursday evenings via Zoom from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and we'll start on the 21st of August. And just on that, if anyone is nervous about using Zoom or setting it up, I would really love to help people. I can do a little practice run beforehand. I don't want that to be a barrier. So I'll make sure I include my email address at the end of this so people can reach out to me if they want a little free practice run beforehand. The program will go for 10 weeks. And I really like the Zoom format because it makes it really accessible for those in rural areas. And also the evening sessions provide a bit of flexibility for those with demanding family or work schedules. Also, I think there's something really nice about the anonymity of Zoom, especially when you're someone experiencing stigma or social anxiety, and you want some privacy. It can be a really safe way to get support and get community.
Yeah, absolutely. And where were you with all this help when we were trying to get this Zoom going, Anna? Because we had so much trouble today, which is why it's just a podcast, everyone. Sorry, we're going to try video, but everything was just not playing well this morning.
So true. I let down the team.
So, Helen, this is a fully funded program. Can you explain how that works and what the commitment is?
Yes, so the How Attachment Styles Affect Adopted People is fully funded by the Department of Social Services through the Forced Adoption Support Service Small Grant Program. This means it's free of charge for anyone who's interested in doing the program, but participants do need to undergo an intake process and attend all 10 sessions of the program.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really important that people do. It is a fully funded program. So that commitment to going and then turning up is really important because, if you don't turn up and you've taken that spot, then somebody else has missed out. So very important.
Yeah.
Anna, what does the intake process involve?
So I guess firstly, I run groups and I also do individual therapy. And what I notice is that group therapy can address insecurely attached emotional states and issues of identity beyond the reach of individual therapy. Participants learn to create secure therapeutic alliances, foster emotional attunement, promote insight, and even, get the opportunity to repair ruptures. However, everyone does come at these groups from really different angles with varying communication styles, unique attachment wounds. So it can be a pretty raw environment, and we need to make sure that everyone is group ready. So Raquel and Raquel's the other facilitator, we do the intakes and we look at things such as natural support systems, any safety concerns, interpersonal histories, people's ability to regulate emotions, and also their tolerance of conflict. It's also a great opportunity for participants to ask us questions about how the group runs, or for them to let us know how we can support them through the program. For example, we take language really seriously, so we want to know what language people prefer to use, and also triggers that we need to be aware of, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And terminology is something that's deeply important to people who are impacted by adoption on all sides. And just being able to have the autonomy to decide what language you want to use. And it might be different to what somebody else does, but that's okay. Like,
totally.
The language that works for us. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. I agree.
So it sounds like such an empowering and healing opportunity. Helen, for anyone listening and wanting to join, what should they do next?
All they need to do, Joe, is email Access Clinic at admin@accessclinic.com.au to register or just express an interest.
Yeah, fantastic. So if you're an adopted person who's affected by forced adoption and you're curious about how adoption may have shaped your attachment patterns, relationships, and sense of self, I put my hand up, I'm curious. This is a unique opportunity to explore those questions in a really safe and supportive space. The program runs online every Thursday evening from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m, starting on August 21st. And to register or to find out more, email admin@accessclinic, that's AXIS clinic .com.au. So thank you so much, Helen and Anna, for sharing your time and insights with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Joe. This is, wonderful. And I can't wait to meet everyone.
Thanks, Joe. And thank you, Anna, for sharing all of the information about the program.
Pleasure.
Thanks, guys. And as always, if you're looking for support, connection, or information, Jigsaw Queensland, we're here for you. Visit jigsawqueensland.com or follow us on social media, particularly Facebook. That's where we're the most active, and stay up to date with everything that we're offering. And if you enjoy Adopt Perspective podcast, please share it, leave a review, or reach out and let us know what you think, because we really do love to hear from you. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, go to the main podcast page of the Jigsaw Queensland website and just fill in the prospective guest form that you'll find there. So I'm Jo Sparrow. Thank you for listening, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Adopt Perspective podcast. If you'd like to find out more, go to the podcast page on www.jigsawqueensland.com and you'll find a wealth of information and resources on the website. If you reside in Queensland, you can reach Jigsaw Queensland's Forced Adoption Support Service on toll-free 1800 210313, or you can call Jigsaw on 07 33 58 6666. If you live in another state of Australia, you can still call the Forced Adoption Support Service number, and your call will be answered by the Forced Adoption Support Service in the state that you're calling from. In every other state, Relationships Australia operates this service. A big thank you to Matt Sparrow for composing and recording our original theme music. Until next time, I'm Jo Sparrow saying farewell from Adopt Perspective, a podcast for anyone affected by adoption.